Screams, splashes, a fin slicing through crystal blue water like a knife through silk. That was the scene at the HOA's luxury pool party the day my shark, Spike, made his grand debut. Picture it: pastel sundresses, polos tucked into khakis, champagne glasses clinking under the summer sun, and then utter pandemonium. One moment Karen, the queen bee, HOA president, was prancing along the pool deck in her pearls, smug as ever. The next, she was shrieking like a fire alarm as my not-so-little secret glided past her manicured reflection in the water. "Oh my God, it's a shark!" someone screamed. A martini glass shattered, a beach ball bounced across the surface, and Spike, sweet, mischievous Spike, decided it looked like a snack. He lunged, teeth flashing, sending tidal waves crashing onto the pool deck. Karen ran in her heels, because of course she did, arms flailing, pearls rattling like castanets. She slipped, skidded, and fell flat on her designer skirt while I stood in the shade, sunglasses glinting, clapping slowly. "Elegance, Karen," I called, truly unmatched. Chaos rippled outward. Kids screamed in equal parts terror and glee. Adults tripped over lounge chairs, and the HOA board members huddled in a corner, clutching their clipboards like life rafts. The security team dove in, thinking they could handle it, but nobody is faster than a shark with an attitude. And me? I didn't move an inch. I sipped my sparkling water like royalty, watching the perfect picture of HOA control crumble in seconds. Every beige curtain, every lavender fine, every smug lecture Karen had ever delivered, it all dissolved in the ripples of Spike's fin. I leaned down to Marla, my lavender-loving neighbor, who was wide-eyed but grinning. "Rules are overrated, darling," I whispered. "Sharks? Never." By the next morning, the video had gone viral. Hashtags everywhere. Hash shark snatched HOA. Hash K ran visa shark. Hashtag poolside revenge. The HOA tried to issue fines for animal interference, but the internet had already chosen its hero. Spoiler alert, it wasn't Karen. And that's how one HOA's stranglehold on suburbia started to unravel. Because when you mix control freaks, luxury pools, and one very sassy shark, chaos is justice. If you're loving this wild HOA versus shark showdown, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the full story. Trust me, you're going to want to see how deep these waters really go. When I first drove through the gates of the neighborhood, I honestly thought I had made it. You know the type: perfect hedges trimmed to military precision, pastel houses lined up like Stepford clones, and mailboxes that practically saluted you on the way in. Paradise, I thought. Exclusive, clean, safe. The kind of place where neighbors wave politely while hiding their marital issues behind triple-paned glass. It was the American dream wrapped in beige siding. My real estate agent had been giddy about this place. "It's run by a strong homeowners association," she'd said with reverence, like she was talking about the Vatican. "You'll love it. They keep everything in order. No weeds, no noise, no nonsense." She said it like she was offering me eternal peace. By day 3, I realized what she meant was eternal surveillance. Her name was Karen. I wish I were making that up, but life has a sense of humor. She wasn't just the HOA president. She was the self-appointed sheriff of the cul-de-sac, the moral compass of lawn ornaments, and the dictator of mailbox heights. You couldn't take a trash bin out a minute early without Karen materializing like Beetlejuice in a pastel cardigan. The first time I met her, she caught me unloading a box labeled "Kitchen Sharp Stuff." "Hello," she said, voice sugary enough to give me cavities. "Welcome to our community. Just so you know, we have rules about keeping garage doors closed. We like a neat aesthetic." I stared at her. I'd been in the house for 30 minutes. "Hi, nice to meet you too," I replied. "I'll be sure to close it before my knives stage a rebellion." Her smile faltered. 1 point to me. The days that followed were an education in tyranny. Karen patrolled the streets like a hall monitor hopped up on espresso. She had this little notepad, pink, with her name engraved, and she scribbled in it whenever she spotted a violati. On a crooked "for sale" sign? Scribble. A bike left in a driveway? Scribble. A child's chalk drawing that dared to cross into public sidewalk territory? Oh, that was a double scribble. I played along at first, smiled sweetly, waved politely, nodded like a good little resident. But behind the smile, I was already plotting, because here's the thing about me. I don't do well with power-hungry tyrants in cardigans. And Karen had no idea who she was dealing with. On the seventh day, a fat envelope landed in my mailbox. HOA rulebook, stamped with the seal of doom, 37 pages long. I flipped through it like it was some kind of ancient scripture. Rules about paint shades, earth tones only, flower restrictions, no lavender, it attracts bees and disrupts harmony. Curtain colors, beige or off-white only. And even, get this, parking directions. According to the Book of Karen, all cars must face north when parked in driveways. Why? Because, quote, it preserves community harmony. I almost choked on my coffee. So the next morning, I parked my car facing west, took a picture, printed it as a postcard, and mailed it to the HOA office with the note, "Harmony achieved. You're welcome." That was the day I declared war. And here's where things got interesting. See, unlike most residents who cowered under Karen's pastel-covered fist, I had a little advantage, a secret weapon, if you will. He lived in my backyard, in a custom-built tank that cost more than Karen's pearl earrings. His name? Spike. Now, most people collect cats, dogs, maybe a parrot if they're feeling eccentric. Me? I collect sharks. Don't ask how. It's a long story involving a sketchy, exotic animal dealer and a drunken bet. But the fact remains, I had a shark. A real, live, sharp-toothed, attitude-heavy shark. And as I flipped through that HOA rulebook, my eyes landed on one line. Residents may not allow you and disruptive pets, i.e. barking dogs, crowing roosters, or any animal deemed dangerous by the board. I grinned, because nothing says dangerous quite like a 4-foot shark with a vendetta. Oh, Karen, you had no idea. The morning after I mailed my little postcard of rebellion, I could practically feel Karen's blood pressure rising from across the cul-de-sac. It was like a ripple in the force. Somewhere out there, a pastel-clad dictator knew her power was being mocked. By noon, she was at my door. I hadn't even unpacked my blender yet, but here she was. Clipboard in hand, pearls shining, hair sprayed into a helmet that could probably survive a hurricane. She knocked with 3 sharp raps, the kind of knock that screams, "I have authority, and I will ruin your Saturday." I opened the door with my sweetest smile. "Karen, what a surprise. I thought you'd be out patrolling the neighborhood for rogue dandelions." Her lips tightened, but she pushed forward. "We received your correspondence." She said it like I'd sent her anthrax. "Parking your car facing west is a direct violation of Section 14B, Line 3 of the HOA Covenant." I leaned casually against the doorframe. "And yet, the sun still rose this morning. Incredible, isn't it?" Her nostrils flared. "This kind of attitude does not foster community harmony." "Neither does a cardigan in August, but here we are," I said. She scribbled something on her clipboard. I swear she used more ink on my house than on the rest of the neighborhood combined. She left without another word, but her silence spoke volumes. This was war, and she intended to win it. Too bad for her, I had Spike. Later that night, I sat in my backyard, sipping a glass of wine while Spike swam lazy circles in his tank. Moonlight glittered on his fins, and I swear he looked at me like he knew exactly what I was thinking. "You ready, buddy?" I asked. He flicked his tail, sending a wave against the glass. To anyone else, it was just movement. To me, it was a promise. The HOA thought they had control. They thought rules, fines, and passive aggressive newsletters could keep everyone in line, but they'd never accounted for me, or for a shark who'd been waiting for his moment to shine. My first official strike came with the lavender. I planted a row of it right along my walkway, bold and fragrant, purple flowers swaying defiantly in the summer breeze. I knew Karen would notice. She probably had a sixth sense for forbidden horticulture. Sure enough, the very next morning, I caught her crouched in my yard, inspecting the flowers like they were contraband. I opened the door just as she was about to snap a photo for evidence. "Beautiful, aren't they?" I called out. "I hear they attract bees, those hard-working little guys that keep the planet alive." Her face soured. "This is against the rules." I plucked one of the flowers and twirled it between my fingers. "Rules are overrated, darling." She stormed off, muttering something about fines. I just laughed and tucked the lavender behind my ear. It felt like victory, but I wasn't done. Not by a long shot. Because in a few short days, the HOA was hosting their annual luxury pool party, a pastel paradise of cocktails, cucumber sandwiches, and forced smiles. It was Karen's crown jewel event, the highlight of her tyrannical calendar. And it was going to be the perfect stage for Spike's debut. I leaned down to his tank that night, tapping gently on the glass. "Big day coming up, Spike. You're going to make quite the splash." His dark eyes glimmered, and for the first time in weeks, I felt a spark of genuine excitement, not just to put Karen in her place, but to remind this neighborhood that no matter how strict the rule book, chaos always finds a way in. And with a shark on my side, chaos was about to throw the party of the century. The HOA pool party was legendary, at least according to the pastel-draped gossip circle that lived for it. Every year, Karen treated it like a royal coronation, invitations embossed in gold foil, catering from the finest country club in a 30-mile radius, and decorations that screamed desperately trying to be Martha Stewart, but settling for Pinterest fail. I, of course, had no interest in mingling with the Pearl Necklace Brigade, but then I thought of Spike, of his gleaming fins slicing through water, and suddenly the party became irresistible, not for their watered-down mimosas or their bland finger sandwiches, but because it was the perfect stage for a little performance art. The morning of the event, I prepped like a general going to war. Black outfit? Check. Oversized sunglasses that screamed, "I am the villain of your HOA horror story"? Double check. Shark transport cooler? Don't ask. Let's just say Spike had traveled before, and he handled it better than most humans on Spirit Airlines. By the time I arrived at the pool, the party was already in full swing, pastels everywhere. The men wore polo shirts tucked into khakis. The women had sun hats so wide they could probably pick up satellite signals. And Karen? She was stationed at the entrance like a TSA agent, scanning everyone with her judgy eyes. "Lovely day, isn't it?" I said as I breezed past her, my smirk firmly in place. Karen's smile was tighter than her Spanx. "We're so glad you could join us. I trust you'll remember that this is a family-friendly event." "Oh, of course," I said. "I wouldn't dream of disrupting your harmony." She didn't notice the cooler I set down near the edge of the pool. Or maybe she did, but her brain couldn't comprehend the possibility that anyone would bring something so audacious. I found a lounge chair, stretched out, and sipped my sparkling water like I belonged on a magazine cover. But my eyes kept flicking toward Spike's cooler. He was calm, waiting, and soon he'd have his moment. The pool itself sparkled unnaturally, like it had been scrubbed within an inch of its life. Kids splashed around in floaties shaped like flamingos, while adults hovered near the bar, clutching their drinks like life rafts. Everything was neat, controlled, sterile, perfect, too perfect. Karen strutted by, heels clicking against the concrete. "Enjoying yourself?" she asked, though her tone implied she'd rather I spontaneously combust. "Lovely pool," I replied. "Would be a shame if—" A little fin appeared, her face twisted in confusion, then horror as she tried to decide if I was joking. I let the silence stretch before casually putting my sunglasses back on. That's when she knew I wasn't bluffing, though she still didn't know how serious I was. I waited until the party reached peak smugness, laughter echoing, champagne flowing, the HOA board congratulating themselves on another year of micromanagement. Then I leaned over, slid open the cooler, and whispered, "Showtime, Spike." With a swift, practiced motion, I guided him into the water. He slipped in silently, a shadow among the floaties, and within seconds, chaos erupted. First came the shrieks. A child screamed, pointing at the unmistakable fin cutting through the water. Adults froze, then panic spread like wildfire. Drinks spilled, beach balls flew, and one man dove out of the pool with the grace of a beached walrus. Someone shouted, "It's a shark!" Spike, bless his dramatic little heart, decided to chase the nearest inflatable flamingo. His fin sliced past it, and the flamingo popped in a glorious explosion of rubber and water. Screams reached operatic levels. Karen was in full meltdown mode, shrieking into her walkie-talkie for security, as if they had shark-fighting training. She ran in HOA's eels, heels, across the wet concrete, slipped, and went down with all the elegance of a collapsing Jenga tower. I sat up slowly, clapping in mock applause. Elegance, Karen, truly unmatched. The scene was utter mayhem. Kids crying, adults scrambling, Spike reveling in the hysteria. And me? I was the calm in the storm, sipping my sparkling water and watching the empire of pastel crumble. It was beautiful. And it was only the beginning. If you've never witnessed an HOA pool party dissolve into complete pandemonium, let me tell you, it's better than Netflix. The screams carried across the neighborhood, echoing off stucco walls and manicured lawns. Somewhere, a margarita glass shattered, and an inflatable unicorn floated away like it was escaping a war zone. Meanwhile, Spike was living his best life. He wasn't attacking anyone. He wasn't that kind of shark. He was just thriving, swimming lazy circles, darting toward shiny things, and occasionally brushing his fin along the water's surface just enough to keep the panic alive. It was performance art, really. Karen, on the other hand, was in full crisis mode. Her walkie-talkie squawked with useless chatter as two members of security, really just bored teenagers in polo shirts, stumbled onto the scene. One of them shouted, "Don't worry, ma'am, I took lifeguard training once," before immediately tripping over a pool chair. The other tried to wave a beach towel at Spike like he was shooing a pigeon. Spoiler, Spike was not shooed. "Control yourselves!" Karen bellowed, though her voice cracked halfway through. She wobbled back to her feet, heels clacking angrily, mascara running down her cheeks like a raccoon who'd seen some things. I leaned back in my chair, sunglasses reflecting the chaos. A neighbor I'd spoken to only once, a soft-spoken guy with a nervous laugh, scrambled past me, dripping wet. He stopped, panting, and stared at me in disbelief. "Is that your shark?" he gasped. I lifted my glass. "Rules are overrated, darling. Sharks? Never." He blinked, then burst out laughing before darting away again. See, not everyone was miserable. Some people appreciated a little chaos with their HOA-approved cucumber sandwiches. The thing is, Spike wasn't actually dangerous in that moment. He was small for a shark, more bark than bite, so to speak. But perception is everything. To Karen and her pastel army, he might as well have been Jaws himself. And the beauty of it? There was nothing in the HOA handbook that specifically forbade sharks in community pools. Dogs? Yes. Chickens? Yes. Sharks? Not a word. Karen's face was priceless when she realized this loophole. She marched up to me, trembling with rage, while chaos churned behind her. This, she sputtered, pointing at the water where Spike's fin cut through like a knife, is a violation of every single community standard. I tilted my head. I've read your little rule book cover to cover. Funny, I didn't see no sharks in the pool listed anywhere. Did I miss a page? Her jaw dropped, and for once, she was speechless. Sweet silence. Of course, the party was beyond saving at that point. Families fled, food tables toppled, and the carefully curated luxury experience collapsed into soggy chaos. Someone uploaded a video to social media in real time. Spike's fin slicing between floaties, Karen shrieking, and me calmly sipping water like the world's most stylish villain. By the time Spike had his fill and I coaxed him back into the cooler, the party was a ghost town. Plastic cups floated in the pool, abandoned flip-flops littered the deck, and Karen stood in the wreckage like a general who'd just lost the war. I stood, dusted off my outfit, and slung the cooler over my shoulder. "Lovely event, Karen," I said as I walked past her. "You really outdid yourself." She glared at me with such intensity I thought her pearls might crack under the pressure, but she didn't say a word, not then, because she knew, everyone knew that her perfect little kingdom had just been shattered by a single shark and a smirk. And deep down, I think that terrified her more than anything else. The HOA's luxury pool was supposed to be the crown jewel of Karen's empire. The glossy brochures mailed out every spring flaunted it like it was the Riviera, resort-style amenities for the discerning homeowner. It was her proof that the HOA fees, bleeding everyone dry at a cool $400 a month, were worth it. But now, that jewel was cracked. No, obliterated. By the time I got home, Spike back in his tank and humming with satisfaction. Yes, sharks hum when they're smug, don't question me. My phone was buzzing like a hornet's nest. Notifications lit up the screen. Shark attack, / poolside mayhem at Karen V's shark. Apparently, the neighborhood wasn't the only one watching. Someone's teenage son had uploaded a shaky, chaotic video of the attack. The internet devoured it within hours. One clip of Karen screeching, "Security! Get the shark!" became a meme with captions like, "When your HOA fines you for breathing." Another angle caught me in slow motion, sipping from my glass as Spike swam behind me. That one got looped into a TikTok with dramatic opera music. By midnight, the HOA party wasn't just ruined, it was trending. I sprawled on my couch, lavender-scented candle burning, a silent middle finger to Karen's no lavender rule, scrolling through the comments. People loved Spike. They adored him. They called him a hero, a revolutionary, the finned symbol of suburban rebellion. Meanwhile, Karen's reputation was tanking faster than her pool's pH balance. The next morning, though, I knew the reckoning would come. Karen didn't do humiliation well. She was the kind of woman who could get snubbed at a book club and then hold a vendetta for 5 years. A viral meme? That was nuclear war. Sure enough, the HOA emergency meeting notice hit every resident's inbox by 7 a.m. Mandatory. Community Harmony Restoration Session. Attendance required. Subtle. I strolled to the clubhouse fash. Yawnably late, black outfit crisp, sunglasses shielding my eyes from the blinding beige of the neighborhood. The room was packed. People whispered, glancing at me like I was both a criminal and a celebrity. Honestly, I was flattered. Karen sat at the front, flanked by her loyal board members. Steve, whose personality was khakis, and Linda, who collected porcelain cats and glared at me like I'd kicked them. Karen's pearls were noticeably tighter today, probably from stress swelling. "This is unacceptable," she started, voice trembling with fury. "Our community has been disgraced, our pool vandalized, our harmony destroyed." The room buzzed. Some nodded solemnly. Others smirked like they were replaying the viral clips in their heads. I raised a hand lazily. Correction. The pool was not vandalized. It was enhanced. Gasps rippled. Karen's eyes nearly popped out of her head. "Enhanced? You unleashed a shark. Do you understand the liability?" "Actually," I said, flipping open a copy of the HOA handbook I'd brought for dramatic effect, "your rules clearly state no dogs, no livestock, no poultry. Nowhere does it mention sharks." I slapped the book shut. Therefore, I followed the rules. The murmurs grew louder. One older gentleman in the back chuckled, then quickly coughed to cover it. Karen pounded the table. "We are fining you." "Careful," I cut in. "The internet doesn't like tyrants. You saw the hashtags, right? Spike is beloved. You ban him and suddenly your HOA looks like the villain in every bad Hallmark movie. Do you really want that press?" She froze. Oh, she hated that I was right. The HOA thrived on fear and obedience, but with the whole world laughing at them, their power had cracks. I leaned back, savoring the moment. Besides, he wore sunglasses in the photo I posted yesterday. He's practically a model. Do you really want to crush that kind of talent? Half the room stifled laughs. Karen's face turned a shade of red that clashed horribly with her pearls. I could practically taste victory, and it tasted like chlorine and freedom. The emergency meeting ended in chaos, of course. Karen tried to slam the gavel down for order, but the thing bounced off the table, rolled onto the carpet, and disappeared under a chair. Half the room laughed, the other half whispered, and Karen just stood there with her hands trembling like she was seconds away from bursting into flames. I left before she could regain control, sauntering out like I owned the place. Technically, I did. My mortgage payments gave me more of a claim than her pearl-draped dictatorship ever did. But that's the thing with HOA tyrants. They live under the delusion that they own you. When I got home, neighbors started trickling by, pretending to walk their dogs or check their mail, while sneaking glances at me. One finally worked up the courage to approach. A woman named Marla, 50s, chain of chunky jewelry, a laugh that sounded like it could crack glass. She leaned over my lavender bushes, clearly enjoying their rebellion against the HOA rules. "That was the funniest damn thing I've ever seen," she whispered, grinning. "Karen looked like she swallowed a lemon whole." I smirked. "Spike has that effect on people." Marla laughed so hard she had to clutch her necklace. "Listen, sweetheart, you ever need backup, you call me. Been waiting years for someone to take that woman down a peg." Word spread quickly after that. Neighbors who had been silent under Karen's reign of beige tyranny started finding little excuses to chat with me. Some left cookies on my porch. Others slipped notes of support in my mailbox. One anonymous hero even left me a pool float shaped like a shark, with a sticky note. For Spike, the neighborhood's true hero. Karen must have seen it all happening, because within days, the HOA newsletter took a sharp turn. Where it usually contained bulle, it points like, "Approved shades of beige paint, eggshell, sand, oatmeal." It now featured bold proclamations. "Community safety alert. Shark incident. Mandatory fines for animal interference." New proposal. No exotic pets. The irony? The rule change hadn't even passed yet. She was trying to ban Spike retroactively. That's the HOA equivalent of rewriting history, and people weren't having it. I sat on my porch with Spike's inflatable floaty propped proudly on the lawn. Every time Karen marched by, clipboard clutched like a holy relic, I waved sweetly. "Hi, Karen. Lovely day for lavender, isn't it?" Her only response was to scribble furiously in her notebook, but the sound was less intimidating now, more desperate. The real kicker came when a local news crew showed up. Apparently, the viral video had spread so far that reporters wanted to interview the Shark House. Imagine Karen's horror when the camera crew bypassed her perfectly manicured lawn and knocked on my door instead. I invited them in, of course. Spike even made a cameo, swishing his tail majestically in his tank as I explained very calmly that he was a harmless little pet who just wanted to cool off in the pool. The reporter loved it, called me the rebel neighbor with bite. Karen, standing on the sidewalk outside, looked like she was about to faint. That night, I poured myself another glass of wine and toasted Spike. "We're winning, buddy, but don't get comfortable. Karen's not done yet. Tyrants never go quietly." And I was right, because the next morning, taped to my front door in passive-aggressive all caps, was a brand new notice. Mandatory board hearing. Your shark is banned. Karen wasn't giving up. She was doubling down. And honestly, that made it even more fun. By the time the notice went up on my door, the internet had already decided Spike was untouchable. The viral clips were everywhere. A slowed-down version of his fin slicing the water had been remixed into a dramatic trailer-style edit. This summer, one shark, one pool, one HOA president who went too far. Another had Karen shrieking layered over ominous Jaws music. Spike. The shark was trending nationally. Someone even photoshopped him into a superhero costume, cape, sunglasses, and a caption that read, "The hero suburbia needs." It didn't matter what Karen wrote in her frantic newsletters. To the world, she was already a punchline. But Karen, bless her delusional soul, believed she could still win. She plastered notices across the neighborhood. Board hearing, mandatory, shark pet to be removed immediately. She printed them in bold font, laminated them, and stuck one on every mailbox like she was announcing the apocalypse. The night before the hearing, I sat with Spike by his tank. He swam lazy circles, tail flicking like he was humming to himself. "They want to ban you," I said softly, "but they don't understand. You're not just a pet, you're a movement." He flicked a little splash against the glass, as if agreeing. The next day, the clubhouse was packed. The entire neighborhood crammed into folding chairs, fanning themselves with the HOA's printed agenda. At the front, Karen perched on a raised table, like a judge ready to hand down divine punishment. Her pearls were practically strangling her neck today. "Order!" she shouted, though no one was speaking. "We are here to address a matter of grave importance, the shark incident." Half the room chuckled. Someone coughed "Sharknado" under their breath. Karen slapped her gavel like she was auditioning for a courtroom drama. "This homeowner," she pointed at me with the fury of 1,000 suns, "has unleashed a dang serious predator into our community pool. jeopardizing safety, harmony, and the reputation of our association. Therefore, I motion to ban the shark and issue maximum fines." She expected cheers. Instead, silence. Then a timid hand raised in the back. It was Marla, my chunky necklace ally. "Karen," she said loudly, "with all due respect, that was the most exciting thing this neighborhood has seen in years. My grandkids won't stop talking about it. They call Spike their pool buddy." A ripple of laughter spread. Karen's face turned purple. Another neighbor chimed in. "My brother in Chicago sent me the video, said he hasn't laughed that hard in months." And then the coup de grace. Steve, the khakis board member, cleared his throat. "Actually, the video increased our neighborhood's online visibility by 200%. We've had 5 inquiries about houses this week. It's technically good publicity." I nearly spit out my water. Karen looked like she'd been stabbed in the back by her own general. The hearing devolved into chaos. Neighbors debating whether Spike was dangerous, whether sharks could be considered emotional support animals, whether the HOA handbook should add a no aquatic predators clause. Someone even suggested building a community tank for Spike to attract buyers. Karen pounded her gavel again. "This is not a democracy," she shrieked. That was her mistake, because someone recorded that moment. By evening, the clip of Karen screaming about democracy was viral, captioned, "When the HOA forgets America exists." It was everywhere. By the time I got home, there were lawn signs popping up around the neighborhood, hand-painted, colorful, defiant. They read, "Spike 2025, make suburbia fantastic again. Down with Karen, up with sharks." I sat on my porch, lavender in full bloom, and laughed until my ribs hurt. Spike flicked his fin in his tank, smug as ever. The war wasn't just between me and Karen anymore. It was her versus the world, and Spike had already won the popular vote. The next few days were surreal. My quiet, manicured suburb, once a place where the most exciting thing was a new shade of beige paint approved by the HOA, was now ground zero for a neighborhood revolution. Kids biked past my house chanting, "Spike, Spike, Spike," like he was a rock star. Someone even taped a hand-drawn poster of him to the lamppost, complete with sunglasses and a speech bubble that said, "Bite back against tyranny." Marla, my lavender-loving ally, strutted over one afternoon with a plate of cookies. "For you," she said with a wink, "and for the shark." I wasn't sure what sharks eat, so oatmeal raisin? I smirked. Spike prefers salmon, but he'll appreciate the gesture. Meanwhile, Karen was unraveling. Her once daily patrols had turned frantic, like she was waiting for me to unleash Spike into someone's birdbath. She even carried a whistle now, blowing it at anything she considered suspicious. A teenager skateboarding? Peep, a garden flag that wasn't beige? Peep, a squirrel daring to cross her lawn? Peep. The whistle was becoming a soundtrack of desperation. But her real revenge plan came during the next HOA meeting. She'd clearly been stewing, pearls clutched so tight they left marks on her neck. When everyone was seated, she slapped down a new proposal packet thicker than the Bible. "This," she announced, "is the Shark Ban Act. Effective immediately, all exotic or dangerous animals are prohibited. That includes sharks, alligators, piranhas, and any sea creatures." The room murmured. Steve in khakis raised a hand timidly. "Karen, does that mean goldfish too?" "Technically, they're sea creatures." Karen snapped, "Goldfish are fine. Don't be ridiculous." Linda, the cat figurine collector, piped up. "But what about koi ponds? My nephew has koi. Are koi exotic?" Karen's eye twitched. "This is about the shark." I raised my hand. "Excuse me. But according to state law, Spike is classified as an ornamental aquatic pet. He's not exotic, not dangerous, and certainly not banned by any statute." I slid a printed copy of the law across the table. Watching Karen's face turn crimson as she skimmed it was pure art. You can't possibly think this is acceptable," she sputtered. "Oh, I don't just think it," I said. "I know it, and so does the internet. Hashtag Spike the Shark is still trending." Steve muttered something about community branding potential. Someone else whispered, "My cousin wants to visit just to see the shark." Karen slammed her gavel down, but it snapped in half this time. The handle clattered across the table. I nearly choked, trying not to laugh. That's when I knew she was done for. The power she'd clung to for years, her precious rulebook, her clipboard, her pearls, was slipping through her fingers, and the more she tried to tighten her grip, the more it crumbled. I stood, sunglasses gleaming, and addressed the room. Look, everyone. You can waste time rewriting rules and banning sharks. Or you can accept that Spike isn't just my pet. He's part of this community now. The lavender blooms, the laughter, the memes, it's all bigger than Karen's control. We can either move forward or keep choking on beige. The applause started with Marla, but soon half the room joined in. Not everyone, of course. Some still clung to Karen's idea of harmony, but enough to tip the scales. Karen's jaw dropped. She looked out at her kingdom, her pastel empire, and realized it was slipping away. She hissed, low and venomous, "This isn't over." I leaned down just enough so only she could hear. "It already is, darling." And as I walked out, the chant started again. Soft at first, then louder. "Spike! Spike! Spike!" Karen's whistle couldn't drown it out. By the time I left that meeting, it was obvious to everyone. Karen's reign of beige terror was over. She just didn't know how to accept it yet. The neighborhood had tasted freedom, had laughed at her shrill whistle and broken gavel, and once you laugh at a tyrant, they can never quite terrify you again. The days that followed turned surreal. Cars slowed as they passed my house. Neighbors I barely knew smiled at me in open solidarity, and kids started drawing chalk sharks on the sidewalks. Someone even draped a banner over the clubhouse fence that read, in bold spray paint, "Spike rules, Karen drools." Karen tried everything to claw back her authority. She filed formal complaints. She demanded special board sessions. She even called the local police to report an unauthorized marine predator. The officer who showed up took one look at Spike's tank, scratched his head, and said, "Lady, that's basically a mean goldfish with better teeth." Then he asked if he could take a selfie with him. That selfie went online, of course. Spike's fan base exploded. A local brewery released a limited edition beer called Fin Order. Etsy shops churned out Spike-themed mugs, shirts, even throw pillows with my smug sunglasses reflection embroidered next to his fin. Karen, meanwhile, became the meme queen of suburban failure. People shared gifs of her tripping at the pool party with captions like, "HOA when your curtains aren't beige enough." Her attempts at control were immortalized online, twisted into comedy sketches, TikTok parodies, and even a puppet show some genius uploaded to YouTube. She had become exactly what she feared most: ridiculous. And me? I leaned into it. Lavender grew wild in my yard, defiantly purple and buzzing with bees. I installed a shark-shaped mailbox that made Karen shriek so loudly, I swear glass shattered somewhere. Every HOA fine that showed up in my mailbag, ox, I framed on my wall as art. The final straw came when she tried to host another community restoration event at the pool. She banned me and Spike by name, plastering the sign in 20-point font. But when the day arrived, nobody showed. Not one lawn chair filled. The only sound was the faint slosh of water against the empty pool deck. Meanwhile, at my house, we had a party. Half the neighborhood showed up with lawn chairs, coolers, and shark floaties. Spike swam proudly in his tank while kids took selfies beside him. Marla made margaritas strong enough to stun a moose. Someone blasted music, and laughter filled the air. Karen stood at the edge of the street, watching her empire crumble across the cul-de-sac. For once, she didn't blow her whistle. She didn't shout. She just stood there, pearls limp against her throat, eyes wide with defeat. I raised my glass and mouthed, "You're welcome." That night, as the party wound down and neighbors drifted home with smiles and leftover cookies, I sat by Spike's tank, the lavender perfuming the air. He swam lazy circles, tail flicking, eyes glinting with a kind of quiet triumph. "We did it, buddy," I said softly. "They wanted to control us, but chaos has better taste." He flicked his fin once, like a salute. The moral of the story? Never underestimate a homeowner with attitude, or a shark with a vendetta, because in the end, it wasn't just rebellion, it was justice. Justice served cold, sharp-toothed, and with fins. And every time Karen scurries past my house now, clutching her clipboard like a relic of a lost empire, I wave sweetly and smile. Because paradise didn't need rules, it just needed a shark.